Hello, boys and girls. Got another video for you fine folks on the internet today. Another installment in the Matthew Buckley Talks music series. Today, here we'll be discussing another strong album by a strong woman. The debut album by Kate Bush, The Kick Inside. Released in 1978 on EMI Records, issued in U.S. and Canadian markets on the Harvest imprint, and issued on cassette and 8-track on the Capitol imprint, given its first CD pressing as a Japanese import in 1983, and it's given a color vinyl Czechoslovakian import in 1991, but getting a widespread, relatively recent global reissue on Parlophone and Fish People and Fish People Records in 2018. But for anyone who might not be familiar with the iconic artist that Kate Bush is, she was born July 30th, 1958, in southeast London to an English doctor and an Irish staff nurse. Kate Bush grew up in an artistic home. Her father was an amateur pianist and her mother a traditional Irish dancer. Her two older brothers were also involved in the local folk music scene in the 1960s. In the town they lived in, and one of them actually worked as a manufacturer of instruments, and the other as a poet and photographer. So everyone in her immediate family was very much into art and music. So since the age of 11, Bush had taken up piano and also practiced violin and organ. And she had written several songs of her own by early adolescence, and her family actually recorded a demo tape in 1975 featuring dozens of her compositions. Eventually, the tape was heard by David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, who reached out and funded a production of a more professional demo tape. And she was quickly signed to EMI Records in a very unique deal where she was put on retainer for 2 years and given a large advance by the label, which she used to fund enrollment in interpretive dance class and mime training. In 1977, she wrote and demoed between 1 to 200 songs, which would be whittled down to 13 for the final track listing of her debut solo album, The Kick Inside, released February 17th, 1978, when she was 19 years old. This album, for some reason, has been issued in at least 7 different cover variations. The original cover art features an illustration of Kate Bush gripping an oriental kite, appearing to glide across a very large eye. Kind of psychedelic art in a way. A second variation for Canadian and U.S. markets features a photograph of Bush clutching her head and her hair against a backdrop that appears to be the moon in the night sky. You know, she very much looks like an extra from the Rocky Horror Picture Show in that variant. A third Yugoslavian import cover variant features a classy, refined portrait of Bush wearing a white long sleeve, staring into the distance against a black backdrop, her hair illuminated by an unseen light behind her. And a fourth variant for the Uruguay import edition features a black and white portrait of Bush looking somewhat tired below basic blocky title text, The Kick Inside. And a fifth variant, the second in U.S. markets, features a very cute photograph of Bush sitting in a corner, is the edition I have here, wearing long red boots or stockings. I'm not quite sure. Her jeans are tucked into them, but It does look almost like they're stockings as opposed to boots. But either way, both arms are wrapped around her leg, as you can see. So it's, I like this cover a lot. It's probably my second favorite cover. The first edition's probably my favorite. But there's a sixth cover variant used for the Taiwanese and later Japanese markets that features another portrait yet of Bush wearing a pink tank top and sporting a somewhat seductive stare under a head of moderately frizzy hair. And the seventh cover variant was only utilized, to my knowledge, for the 1988 Swedish cassette reissue, featuring a photograph of Bush dancing in a white dress. And 6 of these 7 cover variants were all used for different regional releases of the album in the year of 1978. So a lot of different looks for one album. But anyway, on to the sounds within the album, which thankfully were at least the same across all different editions. Side 1 begins with Moving. The sounds of whale calls introduce Bush's voice and piano, and right off the hop, this is not your average ballad. Themes beyond love are explored very quickly. It's quite ambitious for such a young singer-songwriter. And as a matter of fact, though it is on the surface a love song, it's actually a tribute to her mime instructor, Lindsay Kemp. The backing vocals, also by Bush, are superb. As the song closes, more whale calls transition us into the next track, Saxophone Song. A powerful and dynamic song, a tale of Bush's adoration with a saxophone player at a bar. The post-chorus saxophone breaks are full of punch and give the song so much distinctly unique flavor amongst the rest of the album. The coda features some slightly psychedelic keyboard riffing and more sax bumps. The next track, Strange Phenomena, is a real fun song with a very singable chorus. Bush toys with the ideas of superstitious beliefs, from simple deja vu to theological predestiny. I used to interpret the lyrics about the moon to be references to pagan ritualism, but it has been suggested to me that it is about the lunar cycle and the effects that has on a lady's cycle. That is entirely possible. Anyway, the next song, Kite, is a very ska and reggae influenced song. It has a real bouncy tempo and sounds like it was a lot of fun to perform. I like the song a lot, but I really can't do much as far as interpreting the lyrics. Beelzebub is aching in my belly-o. My feet are heavy and I'm rooted in my welly-os. I feel a rush along my body like a bullet. I'm 2D after a push and pull feeling. I got no limbs. I'm like a feather on the wind. Those are just a few of my favorite excerpts from the song. Somewhat nonsensical, almost lysergic lyrical imagery, at least in my opinion. A fun song no matter what. The next track, The Man with the Child in His Eyes, is, though still somewhat ambiguous, a bit more direct in terms of thematic content. A ballad dedication to a special man, be it a lover, a father, or a god. Originally written when Bush was only 13 years old, and was released as her second single in May of 1978. It reached number 6 on the UK singles chart and crossed over to number 85 on the US Billboard Pop Singles chart in 1979. The song would actually go on to be awarded the Ivor Novello Award for Outstanding British Lyric that same year. The next track, Wuthering Heights, was released as Bush's debut single in the lead-up to the release of the debut album in November of 1977, a full 4 months before The Kick Inside would actually see release. And the song entered the UK singles chart at number 39 in January of 78, and over the next 3 weeks rose to number one, where it stayed for 1 month. By the end of the year, Wuthering Heights was the 10th best-selling single that whole year, and certified gold by the British phonographic industry. It was also a number one hit in Ireland and in New Zealand, and top 10 in Belgium, Finland, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and Switzerland. This was actually the first time a woman had a number one hit on the UK singles chart with a song that she wrote by herself. A monumentous occasion, to be sure. And possibly the first, definitely one of the first times a number one song was directly inspired by a novel. As after seeing the 1967 film adaptation of Wuthering Heights, Bush read the book and discovered she shared her birthday with author Emily Bronte. She would go on to write the song over the course of an early spring evening. It's a very intelligent, scholarly song, including lyrics that are lifted directly from dialogue in the book. And though her record label was pushing for another song, James and the Cold Gun, as her debut single, Bush was adamant that she wanted her debut single to be Wuthering Heights, and ultimately she got her wish. And I should not forget to mention, the song fades out with a stellar guitar solo by Ian Barnson. I might be mispronouncing his last name, but the solo echoes the vocal melody in such a whimsical but powerful tone. It's great stuff. It's fantastic listen. It's a fantastic listen. So truly a 5-star song, and that closes side one. Side 2 opens with James and the Cold Gun, the song that her record label thought should be the lead single. And I can see why. Galloping piano sets the pace as fiery guitar and crashing drums drive up the intensity. It's easily the hardest rocker on the album. It's a whimsical tale of a hard man who lives and, from the sounds of it, will probably die by the gun. It's just a real great rockin' song with a very dramatic instrumental coda. It's super, super powerful outro. And the next track, Feel It, is a much more sparsely arranged, slow, sensuous song. A recounting of a sexual night of passion. Bush lays it all out, opening the song with lyrics like, "After the party, you took me back to your parlor, a little nervous laughter, locking the door, my stockings fall on the floor, desperate for more, nobody else can share this." Hot stuff. The next track, "Oh, to Be in Love," is a fun song, another contemplation on how one finds themselves in that place of infatuation and adoration, hoping to never leave that place. Relatable. The song shifts between somewhat sparsely arranged verses and much more full sing-along choruses. And there's actually mandolin in the song that is played by Bush's older brother, Paddy. And the next track, "L'amour Looks Something Like You," is another very seductive love and lust song. A bit more unconventional, almost psychedelic lyrical imagery abound, but still fairly straightforward in tone. Bush's voice oozes sensual energy as she sings about sticky love in the moonlight. The song will always have a special place in my heart, as it was actually the first Kate Bush song that I actually ever remember hearing back in high school. It sure caught my attention then, and it honestly tugs at my heart even more than it did then. But the next track, "Them Heavy People," is easily the most fun song on the entire album. It's another ska and reggae derived groove, coupled with lyrics about somewhat reluctant enlightenment. I really love the last lyric of the last verse. You don't need no crystal ball, don't fall for a magic wand. We humans got it all, we perform the miracles. People got the power. And the next track, "Room for Life," is a true woman empowerment song. Women are built tough. They've got room for life inside them. The coda of the song is one of the most surreal and psychedelic moments of Bush's career, in my opinion. A real fun and carefree stack of wordless vocals. You can just feel positivity and joy emanating from the sounds of her layered voice. It's fantastic stuff, almost like a Beach Boy-esque coda. And the title track closes the album with a stark, stripped piano ballad from Bush. Is it a dedication? A farewell? It's hard for me to say, honestly. The song and its murky references and metaphors quietly end side 2 and the album. So, final thoughts. This is one of the strongest debut albums by any recording artist in popular music. And at that, a debut recording by a young woman who wrote and sang all of her own songs, complete with instrumental accompaniment from several progressive rock musicians of the British 1970s. Executive production from David Gilmour gave the album an extra stamp of validity, and it was an international success, peaking at number 3 on the United Kingdom album chart and reaching top 5 in Australian, Belgian, Danish, Dutch, Finnish, French, New Zealand, Norwegian, and Portuguese album charts, going to be certified platinum in Australia, Canada, the Netherlands, New Zealand, and the UK. The album has been massively successful and kickstarted Bush's 40-plus year career in the music business, which has had a couple extended hiatuses, but whatever. And this album has also influenced generations of art, pop, and rock artists. The songs on this album also were influential in the emerging late 70s music video market, with 4 promotional films made for songs from the album. Videos for Them Heavy People, The Man with the Child in His Eyes, and 2 separate videos for Wuthering Heights. And all featured extensive and unique choreography by Bush, the fruits of her dance class and mime training. And there really isn't enough good that can be said about Kate Bush's work, as outlandish and over-the-top as it can be from time to time. From top to bottom, the artistic integrity is unmatched, and that's one part of why she stands out as such a singular artist in a landscape of so many singers and songwriters that try to sound like each other. She didn't try to sound like anybody but herself, and therefore she sounded like no one else. And she didn't just sing about love, she didn't just sing about lust. She wasn't overtly sexual, but heavily sensual. She was able to convey so many feelings and fantasies through her songs. Any aspiring songwriter almost can't help but be inspired. Get a sip of tea here for the working man. So, all in all, I'd say that this is easily a 9. Part of me wants to go 10, but she does have some. There's I don't want to put the ceiling on this album because she has artistic development far beyond this. But this is such a strong album, such an incredibly strong debut. I would have to say 9 out of 10 for the kick inside. Definitely a fantastic listen. I can't recommend it enough. Let me show you the label here. This particular copy that I have is a mid-80s reissue, an EMI America gray label. There's some other color variants of the label, but that's this one, sides A and B. I also have a CD issue, supposedly a U.S. press, on the Parlophone imprint. I don't know if you can see with all the glare. There, it's probably a good angle. Yeah. Nothing too fancy on the back, just red in the tracks. The back cover of the vinyl, you actually get some neat art and all the lyrics That there is kind of a decent representation of the Kite you would see on the original cover, except on the original cover there would be Kate Bush herself, an illustration of Kate Bush instead of some guy. But yeah, you get all the lyrics on the back of the vinyl, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's 20 or so minutes of me gushing about how awesome the kick inside is here. I appreciate anyone who's bothered to listen this far. So let me know in the comments down below. Have you heard the kick inside? Are you familiar with Kate Bush? Any of her other albums? Have you seen any of her wacky music videos with wild dancing? I know I love to show people Kate Bush because 9 times out of 10 they think it's just going to be something pretty mundane and, you know, singer-songwritery, and halfway through whatever song I'm showing them, they're asking me what the hell's going on and who this crazy lady is. So she's a very unique and singular artist, and I highly recommend you check her out if you're not familiar. And if you are, let me know what your favorite era or albums of hers are, or, you know, any thoughts you might have. So thanks for watching. This has been Matthew Buckley Talks Music with the kick inside, Kate Bush. Music is the best.